Hey guys, what is up? We're here with another GR8 podcast episode. Super excited to be doing this episode, just like every other episode I am. Hopefully I talk super brief. I'm just going to get right into it about Marvel Phase 4. I still have The Boys Season 3 to talk about, but in the time of last episode and that next episode, I might as well talk about, a short time span about my thoughts and my thoughts about Marvel Studios Phase 4. So Phase 4 I don't know if it's wrapping up just yet, but they just released Thor: Love and Thunder, and then obviously they had the season finale of Miss Marvel, which are the latest projects in. I keep on wanting to call it Season 4, but it's Phase 4, Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And listening to different podcasts and different reviewers about Thor: Love and Thunder, it's very, very mixed. If you listen to my review, which no one has, I actually kind of liked it. Once I realized that if I think too much about this, I'm gonna hate it. But if I don't, whatever, I'll like it. And I turned off my brain and I liked it. So, I'm getting to this point where I'm starting to like Marvel for where it is right now. I'm still a big DC guy. I like DC Comics way more than I like Marvel. And I know it's a hot take, but that's kind of like the baseline of what I want to come at this from is I like Marvel. I love Marvel. I love Spider-Man. I love the X-Men. I love the Avengers. I really, really like the theater experiences going to Marvel, and I really like how it's like a cultural phenomenon to go to Marvel movies in the theaters. And then, there's always online chatter about like the next episode and like obviously Star Wars and other kind of stuff, but specifically Marvel television. And that really started out with WandaVision, and it's really honestly fizzled out now with Miss Marvel. It was a big thing with like Moon Knight and Loki, but now that, I think we're getting a lot of not just superhero fatigue, but I think it's a lot of Marvel fatigue. Like I think the general consensus is that like people don't know where Marvel is going at this point, so they're just throwing anything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I would tend to agree. And they're doing that, I guess, because like they basically finished what they were leading up to, like over 10 years of leading up to Avengers Endgame with this massive culmination of like so many characters and villains, and they fight each other. And now, where does the studio go after that? Obviously, they're not going to just stop making money. They've introduced, and it's not that they just like want to make more money. I mean, obviously, it's Disney. Of course, they want to do that. But they've introduced characters. They've set new things for other characters during the last couple movies and projects of Phase 3. So now we have, WandaVision, and we also have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and a prequel with a Black Widow, but also a new origin story with Shang-Chi. So it's very interesting to see all this kind of stuff happen in the Marvel Studios Phase 4 realm, because it's so divided. Everybody was on board for Avengers Endgame. Everybody loved it. It's the biggest movie of all time. I think it's still, unless Avatar re-released. But now, like, people are like, okay, I don't know what to do with Marvel. I don't know if I like it, because they think that Marvel is looking at their own projects and characters and like, okay, we don't know what to do here either. I'm at a really cool, like, I don't want to be like, haha, like, like me, but I'm at a really cool spot with Marvel right now. I kind of like what they're doing. They're putting out projects. They're doing different things. I feel like, a lot of Marvel movies in the past had like, yes, different directors had their different style and personality for their different movies, but they were pretty much felt all the same. You walked into a Marvel movie and you knew what you were going to get. I like how whenever I turn on the TV for a Marvel Disney Plus show, or I go into the theater for a new Marvel movie, I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know who's going to die. I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know what they're leading up to. And that's what I kind of like, that's what I'm kind of enjoying about Phase 4. So I wanted to make my way through the different projects that have been through Phase 4 and my small little tidbit of thoughts on them and what my overall thoughts on Phase 4, because I don't think it's this like massive general consensus that Phase 4 sucks. I think a lot of people are like, I really don't like Phase 4 because they don't have it doesn't seem like they have a plan. And which I want to get at is my opinion is that I'm kind of glad they don't have a plan. They've been doing for almost 10 years, over 10 years of them not having a plan. I think it's okay that after their massive movie event, massive world phenomenon, that it's okay that they let's take a step back, make some things that we want to make, give creative freedoms to people that we want to give creative freedoms to, and just make what they want to make and put it out on Disney Plus, and people will watch it. And I know like the budget and CGI and like things are being stretched super thin within the company, but I really like how much they're putting out and what they're putting out. Within the past year, almost a little bit, a year and a half, they've put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 projects. Almost every single month, there's something Marvel related coming out within the last year and a half, which is absolutely insane, because we in the beginning and towards the middle, we were getting a Marvel movie like once every 2 years. Maybe we got one, maybe we got two in 1 year. Once it started ramping up, it still was like, it would be odd if we got 3 Marvel movies in a year. So now we're getting so many projects within a year and a half. Granted, like that's because of COVID and things have carried over and things of that nature, such as Black Widow, was held off. But nonetheless, I think it's super interesting to talk about Phase 4. It's like where Marvel is, and I really like it. So starting out, I don't want to go like one by one over this, but I really just want to talk about Phase 4 and what it means to me, I guess. WandaVision was cool, expanded on Scarlet Witch and her thoughts in her like emotions through grief and loss. I thought that was cool, how she dealt with it in her own toxic way and how she was basically the villain. She also becomes the villain in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but we'll get to that. I really liked how it was like a sitcom, and then obviously it devolved into like the last 2 episodes were like, okay, like it's not a sitcom anymore. Like it was, but it was based off like Modern Family and modern sitcoms. But I think the last episode was like just a normal, movie shot in a specific way. I don't know. I really liked how they kept the intrigue and kept the creative forces and kept the creative juices flowing throughout the first couple of episodes of that show. I really like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and how I think that's my favorite Marvel Disney Plus show, because I felt like it was consistent. It was consistently good. I understood what every character wanted, and I thought the story between Sam and Bucky, where Sam was given to this shield, and he's like, I don't know, like I don't even know if like myself I understand what the shield means, but now I have to take it up with like a racial part of it, like since him being black and like people not sure if a black person could be Captain America, and Bucky coming at it like, you don't understand, like that shield means so much more than it means to you. Like it's not that I should have it, it's like it means more, so take care of it. And Sam's like, not only am I having this pressure, like I said before, himself is a racial identity, but also his best friend and co-partner. He's like having it. Just I thought that was very interesting, and also Bucky was in therapy and trying to be a better person, be a better like trying to make amends with his past life. I thought all of that was very, very interesting. It's like in a very cool political drama, with a little like superhero spin on it. I really liked that. I thought that was cool. Loki, I thought it was good. I thought it was very interesting. I thought the premise was very interesting. I just didn't like where they went with it. I thought it was going to be more like Loki going throughout, history and changing things, or, making sure things go right. They did do a lot of that. And Owen Wilson is really good. Owen Wilson, that's his name, right? Owen Wilson. And Owen Wilson, as Mobius, not Morbius, Mobius, was really well acted. I like the story, but I like the character of Loki a little bit more. You know, how he's like seeing his whole life play out, and he's like, you know what, like, is there anything I can do to change that? And he's like, okay, like I don't want to be that kind of person anymore. But I really liked what it meant for the rest of the MCU and how like it introduced Kang the Conqueror in a sort of weird way. Um, but it also like introduced like the multiverse, which we as audiences we kind of knew that's what they're going to go with Phase 4, because like how can you like, you know, you're messing with reality and you're messing with like the death of trillions. Now you got to mess with like the deaths of different realities, which is it, which I'm glad that, which is insane, and I'm glad that Loki brought that into it. Black Widow, it's not my favorite, but I do like a kind of a spy thriller in this Marvel movie. In this as this Marvel movie in the grand scheme of Marvel movies. I don't have a whole lot to talk about that because I think I liked it. I gave it a thumbs up, not a solid thumbs up, but just a thumbs up. Sure, go watch it if it's your favorite. I don't know what's wrong with you, but if it's your least favorite, then you need to watch other Marvel movies. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, I thought this one was an absolute banger, easily. Ooh, maybe not easily, but it's top 2 favorite Marvel projects for Phase 4 and top 5 Marvel movies of all time in Marvel Studios, of course, for me. I love Shang-Chi. I thought it was good. I thought it was funny. I thought the action was really well choreographed. I thought the movie was shot. I understood the characters. I really liked the story and the character development within the story. I really liked Shang-Chi. I liked his power set. I like his moves. I like the villain. I really liked the movie, and I think I really liked how it was like a Dragon Ball Z type fight at the end, and then they had like dragons, which was like kind of weird. But I understood like why, because they were talking about, they're hyping up the dragons for so long in the movie that there's like 2 opposing forces. It was just interesting. I just really liked it. I really like Shang-Chi, and I also really like martial arts and Asian mythology, Asian mythology and culture, and when it, given a superhero spin, I think that's really cool, and that's what Shang-Chi did. What If is their first animated show, and I kind of liked it. I really wish it was not intertwined, because I thought that's, not everything needs to be intertwined. Not everything that Marvel puts out needs to be intertwined. But What If was, it was like, what if this? What if that happened? What if, Peggy Carter became Captain Carter or whatever? But every episode led into like the last 2 episodes, and all of them, like all the main characters from the different episodes came together. I was like, well, that's cool, but like I would have liked it if they were just separate universes, separate pockets of this Marvel expansion that you just like, hey, explore this and then just forget about it, because like you don't need to go into it, because that's the point of is what if, like what if this happened, tell the story, and then you're done with it. I don't think it needed to be intertwined. The best episode I think is the Doctor Strange one, and I think that's a general consensus there too. Eternals. Now, coming out of the theater, I hated Eternals. I hated it. I still think it's one of the worst Marvel movies. However, I think there's some redeeming qualities about it. One, which I think is really cool, and I don't know why I think this is super cool, but it's something that I would have loved to write. Would have loved to have the ability to write, is that the different Eternals have different power sets and different moves and different things that they can do, but they also have different personalities and how they think. And their powers and their personalities specifically matched. So Druig, played by Barry Keoghan, whatever, how do you ever say his last name? The guy that's going to play Joker in the Matt Reeves Batman. He was Druig, and he had this pessimistic attitude about humanity, and not about humanity, but like the Eternals' view on humanity. He's like, and his power is that he can talk, and people will do what he says. Like he has the ability to influence minds. So the Eternals are watching humans fight on like some pyramid, and he's like, I could stop this right now, and all the Eternals are saying, like, no, you shouldn't, because that's interfering. And Druig was like, screw that, like that's not okay. That's not okay to me. So he speaks out to the people that are fighting. And he says, follow me, like, and we'll negotiate peace. I think that's what he says. So he walks away from the Eternals and leads the two massive armies away, and he just stops the conflict. So I think that's super interesting that like like these characters, most of them have like direct correlations with like their powers and their personalities. The other one, I think his name is Phastos. He can generate like things, mostly machines, right? And what he wanted to do for humanity, and I think he did. Again, I've only seen this movie once, but what I can recall and what I really liked from what I can recall is that he was giving humanity, like he was pushing humanity forward by giving them machines. Like you would plant a machine like every century or whatever. He's like, here's this. Here's like the printing press. Here's the sewing machine, and here's this, and here's the engine, or something along those lines. But he was doing it very passively because he knew that he couldn't interfere with it, but he saw his power as like, I want to help these people, but I can't interfere. So I'm going to use my power to indirectly help the humans. I'm not going to steer the course of humanity in a certain way. I'm not going to influence anybody's actions. I'm just going to give them, something that they could use for the rest of time. And I thought that was very interesting. So I liked Eternals. I liked where they were going with it. I just think the story was not all there. And I think it was kind of boring. But I also like understood where they're coming from. They wanted, the Eternals to be their first massive, not blockbuster, but like, cinema movie. Somebody that could sit down and like it could win a couple of awards and things like that. Obviously, it did not do that, but still, I think Eternals has some good things to it. But I liked Icarus. I like his powers, and I really like the sound to Eternals. I remember coming out of the theater thinking I really liked the sound design. After that, Hawkeye. I thought Hawkeye kind of like Eternals, but I liked Hawkeye more. I think it had some good things about it. I think it had a lot of good things, but if only like it was, touched more upon, like if only it was built upon. I wish that Hawkeye, because there's like a really good scene. It's probably the best scene in all the show. It's one of the best scenes of all these Marvel movies. Is that Hawkeye had lost his hearing, and I really like that like he's just a human and he's like taking physical tolls from battles. But Kate Bishop writes on a piece of paper and shows it to Hawkeye, and it's his son saying that, and it's like written down. It's like his son is like, it's okay that you don't make it back for Christmas. It's okay if you're not here. And you can see it in his eyes, and you can see it in Kate Bishop's eyes. That's like, like, I can't do this again. I can't do this to my family again. But this is something like, that's why I'm a superhero. That's why like I have this bow and arrow. That's why I have this ability to help people and do what I can to help. But I want to make it back for my family. And I really liked that. I'm shaking right now. I don't know. Like I'm having such an emotional reaction because I really like that. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great avenue for Marvel to go down, talk about their street level heroes and how they actually feel about their job and occupation, how they actually feel about fighting armies of robots, or how they actually feel about fighting crime bosses. Like they have, Hawkeye's I think the only Avenger, or one of the only Avengers that have like a legitimate family outside of, actual relationships outside of the Avengers. And he's like, I have an actual family, wife, children, and like, I just want to make it back in time for Christmas for them. And I really like that. I think that's really good. But the rest of the show, it was okay. And introduced Kingpin in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and like that's pretty cool. And I liked it. I liked the show, but I just think it could have been a little bit better. Spider-Man no, and then they came up with Spider-Man No Way Home in December. Golly, the hype for this movie is just insane. I think I've seen it 3 times in theaters. It's just insane because I was telling, and there's no all spoilers here. I don't care. I was legitimate. I told myself I cannot get hype about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield returning. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to believe that's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then I won't be let down. If it does happen, then I'll be jumping up and down because I think that would be the greatest thing ever. And I think I should have like thought about it before. Is that like my expectations for Marvel movies were never high, and I never thought about something should happen before Spider-Man No Way Home, right? Because I had so many thoughts. I had so many speculations about who's going to die and what's going to happen in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. But I never thought that like they're going to complete the story in the best way possible. That was my thoughts. You know, something's going to happen to these characters. I don't know who's going to die, but I know somebody's going to die. Going into Spider-Man No Way Home, I was thinking, whatever happens, I'm probably going to enjoy this movie. But if they pull this off, because this seems like something that like way bigger than they would, if they pull this off and bring in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield for their other Spider-Man, I would go insane. But I had to, reel it back and think realistically, how would that happen? Marvel's pulled it out in the past with Avengers Endgame, but can they replicate it? Would they replicate it for a third Spider-Man movie? And sure enough, they did. I loved the movie. I think, first time out of the theater, I think the pacing I think I had a little bit of pacing issues, and then I watched it again and I said, okay, I don't think it's a pacing issue. In fact, I think it's paced very, very well. However, I can see how somebody would have that kind of gripe to it. I really liked Spider-Man No Way Home. I loved Andrew Garfield and I loved Tobey Maguire. Andrew Garfield is still my favorite Spider-Man. I love the story and I love all the villains. I love all the character interactions. My favorite character interaction was Electro talking to Sandman, and Sandman asks Electro, he's like, how'd you get your electric powers? And Electro was like, I fell into a vat of electric eels. What about you? He's like, I fell into a super collider. And Electro was like, man, you gotta be careful where you fall then. Like I think that's a top tier joke for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love that. I think that is so funny. I don't know why, but I busted out laughing when that joke was told. That's one of the main things that almost more than Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I love that joke, maybe even more. But I loved all the cameos. I loved all the time that they put into having the Spider-Man talk to each other. They spent a whole lot of time together. I thought it was really well done, and I think it was a good movie in itself, but also a very good like Spider-Man story, but also a very good superhero story. Using the multiverse, I know definitely can get like very, very like interesting to say the least, but very confusing to say the most. But I think they pulled it out very well. And then after that, Moon Knight. I was in the camp of like not knowing a whole lot about the character. However, I knew kind of like what he did and what he was. The show did exactly what it should have done, I guess, is introduce the masses to this character and tell them what he can do and what he does and what he is. He's a person with a split personality disorder, and but when he goes into this one personality, and he calls upon this god, an Egyptian god, to give him powers, and all that kind of stuff. I really liked that. I thought it was very good. However, I think it gets really stale in the middle of the show. I think the first episode and the last episode, or the second to last episode, is some of Marvel Studios' best, especially in TV. But I think it's up there because I loved how gritty it got. Not that just the violence or whatever, but I really liked how like serious it got. You know, the first episode I remember just like jumping in and out of like personalities and him falling asleep and waking back up, and it's like there's death all around him. And then the second to last I especially really remember it's the second to last episode when it's like going back into, I think it's Mark Spector's um past, where he's like drinking outside of a funeral of his like dad or mom or something, and he's like a Jew, and he's like drinking and he's watching this, and he's like he can't fathom that he can't grasp his religion, he can't grasp his like emotional, he can't grasp his heart, he can't grasp his love, and that just turns him into a killer. And then how Khonshu like manipulated that. I think that like kind of idea, and I really like that story. However, I just think that they just went a weird route with it. But I love that they touched on those types of things, and I love how they showed those types of things and actually like went in depth into like a character's mind. Not a whole lot do they do that in these characters and in these movies and in these shows, but they really went in depth with Moon Knight's mind, and I really like that. And then Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. I have pretty mixed feelings about this because I knew Scott Derrickson, who directed the first Doctor Strange movie, wanted to make it more horror-like, and I knew that Marvel Studios was hyping it up to be like a game changer in the MCU, to like not necessarily introduce the multiverse, but like if the multiverse was already like, I mean, because scheduling, because of COVID and all that kind of stuff, if it was going to become first, then it would introduce the multiverse, and if it was going to come after, then it was going to change up the multiverse in the MCU forever. And it did neither of those things. In fact, they kind of did almost nothing with the multiverse. They did, obviously, with the introduction of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, and then they brought back Black Bolt. You know, they also had like a different. I guess it's not a variant because that's from Loki, but they don't call each other variants or whatever. They also had Professor X from the X-Men movies. Like, it was crazy to watch on screen, but you didn't know what was going to, I mean, obviously they died in the movie, but it's like, okay, what are they going to do with them next? You know, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen later? Like, what's going to happen with them? What's going to happen with those characters? What's going to happen with those castings later now that you've killed them? But I really liked other than like that kind of idea with the multiverse, it was like, it was one scene when they're going through dimensions, and I thought that was really cool, but I thought they were going to like hit on it a little bit more. In fact, they just go to another universe that looks almost identical to the normal 616, but there's just like different characters, different people playing the same character or whatever. But, nonetheless, I really like Sam Raimi's style. I really like the horror aspect. However, it was horror at some points, but I really liked how like it's not campy either, but it's just Sam Raimi's like type of like thriller, horror, supernatural type spin on it. And a lot of people are saying that the ending fight with the two Doctor Stranges, they're using like musical notes and like music to fight each other. I thought that was sick. I love that. That's like pure comic book bliss. Like, I don't understand how somebody's like, oh, that's cheesy or that's stupid. Yeah, it's a sorcerer supreme going through the multiverse and fighting a different version of himself, so that the multiverse doesn't collapse. He has to get a book so that the multiverse doesn't collapse. And your gripe is about how he fights somebody else, and that not only that, but the way that he fights him is aesthetically pleasing to the eye and to the ear. I love that scene, and I really liked Sam Raimi's style. I thought it was cool. I love the practical effects. I thought it was cool. It was not at all the direction that I would have gone with the Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, and it's not necessarily the pathway I think they should have gone. But I'm glad that they went down this path. Anyways, with Scarlet Witch being the villain. And I really liked how at the end she realized that she was, doing all of this wrong, how much death she caused by looking at her children and seeing like the fear that she was causing in their eyes. I really like that because it's not these villains getting just like killed off. I like Phase 4, and I'm going to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder. That some of these villains, just like Shang-Chi, like these people are like actually complex characters now. Thanos was a complex character. Loki became a complex character, but he was just a mustache twirling bad guy. So is Ultron a little bit. And a lot of these other, villains are just like there to just fight the hero, but now they're giving them like really cool complexes. They give Wanda. Wanda was an Avenger, and now in this movie she was the villain because she just wanted her kids back. And then Shang-Chi, it was Shang-Chi's dad, and he's like, and his dad just like wanted his wife back. He just wanted his wife back, and he was going to do anything to get to that point. And Shang-Chi's like, I can't allow you because like if you can bring her back, then what's stopping you from doing like whatever else you want? And I don't know. I just like watching Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. I really liked how it gave me like a good thought process. Is like Marvel's finally understanding their villains. And I'll get to that with Thor: Love and Thunder. Miss Marvel, I just finished up the finale today. I liked it. I thought it was good. It was interesting. The first couple episodes really had me hooked with the style, with like the art and like the paintings and like the street graffiti like coming off the screen and like or moving around and different animations with different CGI. I really like that. I thought that was cool. The really cool texting scene, I think it's in the first episode where they're like texting back and forth, and I think I talked about it in an earlier episode on the podcast where characters were texting back and forth and the environment around them was changing to show what somebody was applying with or whatever. I thought that was really cool, really interesting. I like Miss Marvel. I like her character. I'm excited to see her in other things. She's the first mutant in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is interesting because they also change up her powers. So people that really like Miss Marvel, I wonder what they're saying to that. But me, not the biggest Miss Marvel fan, I like it. I think she's cool. I think she's a cool character, and I like the characters around her. Now, talking about Thor: Love and Thunder and a whole review on it, but just talking about it as a whole, I like it. And I also want to talk about the villain, where like the villain I was talking about earlier, that like they're seeing what they're doing wrong. Gore died, obviously, but he saw what he did wrong and he changed his mind. And I just really think that's cool. I think that's interesting to have villains change their mind about what they have been doing. And hopefully they do something with the hero. They change their mind about what they're doing, like heroics, and want to change into bad characters or evil characters, like they did with Wanda and Doctor Strange, but in a different way. And I just really like how Phase 4 is doing all this. And that's like kind of my really fast tidbits of, what I thought about these different Phase 4 projects. I like them. I really like them. I like it as a whole. Some of my favorite Marvel movies, such as Shang-Chi and Spider-Man, are my favorite Marvel movies. Like they're both of them in my top 5. But also Eternals is in my bottom. It is at the bottom for me, and Black Widow's at the bottom. So Phase 4 has had some really high highs for me, but it's also had some very, very low lows. And I think that's why it's so polarizing, sort of for me, because I have a general likeness for the phase, but as a, for the audience, for a general audience, for the US, I guess, for, watching these movies, they're kind of like, okay, where's Marvel going to go next? And I kind of like it that they don't really have a roadmap. They did over 10 years with the roadmap. I think it's okay that they take a phase, introduce some new characters, plant some like things that they can go to in future phases and future movies. I think it's okay that they just take a back seat and just make stories about certain characters. I think that's cool. I think that's awesome. I hope they continue to do that in Phase 5. Yes, I hope that we get an Avengers movie. I think that would be sick. I think we do need a roadmap soon. But I like what they're doing right now, just making movies about characters telling a story. I think that's cool. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to me just ramble on about Marvel and the Phase 4. of Marvel Studios and the cinematic universe. It's been a blast doing this podcast show. Hope you guys are enjoying it and continue listening and watching. Go share it with your friends. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.